My name is Chief Kurt Riggin of the Kickyals Nation. I also happen to be a tribal attorney for many tribes over the years: Puyallups, Tulalipes, Muckleshoots, Kickyals, Snoqualmoos, Pilchucks, and I'm also a researcher. I've been doing research for many years. I've been very interested in history and research. And I went with a group of people like a guy named Lloyd Smith, a guy named Tim Duffy, Rob McDuff, or Rob Duff, as some call him, and several others. Lloyd Smith was kind of the senior guy. And we get there to the National Archives, and they tell us, sorry, we can't let you in without National Archives cards. And this was in 2001. And I said, well, where do we get those? He goes, up on the second floor. And I said, well, how do we get up on the second floor? He goes, it's not my problem. Get moving along. So I looked up the head of the National Archives number, got a hold of the head of the National Archives, and called him up and said, hey, I need your home information, home address, and personal information. He goes, well, why would you need that? And I go, because we're here for a little over 2 weeks, maybe 3, and we're here to do research at the National Archives, and if we can't do research at the National Archives, we're going to spend that time suing you. He said, well, I can come down and escort you up to the second floor. I go, well, heck, we'll buy you lunch. He goes, oh, no, that's not necessary. So he came down, escorted us up to the second floor. We got our National Archives cards, which was nice of him. And we get to work. Well, day one, it was me, 5 guys, and 3 guys from the National Archives looking for the Constitution for the state of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, even Nebraska and Kansas, and most of the states west of the Mississippi. And second day we had 8 guys helping us from the National Archives, plus me and my 5 guys. We had 18 guys the third day. By the fourth day we had 28 people from the National Archives desperately hunting for these constitutions and unable to find them. And now, by the 9th day, I found, I started, from the 7th day on, I was going through miscellaneous document boxes that nobody had opened since 1901, 1890s, 1870s. And I started, I get to every letter had probably, you're talking 8,000 to 12,000 boxes per letter of miscellaneous document boxes. I get to G, I think it was 37 or something like that, and all of a sudden, and every one of them before that, they just handed it to me. Here's a box. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. And then I get to G37, and they go, sorry, but we can't show you the contents until we verify the contents of this box. And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I called, I had the National Archives head on speed dial. So I call him up and he goes, well, what are you going to sue me for now, Riggin? I said, I've been looking for these constitutions for days now. And he goes, I know, I've been giving you lots of people to help. And he says, we're pretty concerned about this. I said, well, I think I found them, and now you guys are telling me they want to verify the contents before they want to show me what's in it. And I said, if you guys want to verify the contents of that box, you can do it looking over my shoulder, because you wouldn't even be looking for them if it wasn't for me. He said, fair enough. We could take care of that. Within 5 minutes, I had a big old giant box in front of me with 2 people on each shoulder, and they gave me a pair of white gloves, and I start going through the box. Miscellaneous document number 55 was the Washington State Constitution of 1878. Miscellaneous document number 40 was Montana's Constitution. Number 39 was Oregon's. 34, I believe, was Colorado's. but here was all these miscellaneous documents in this box, and not only was the original constitutions for, like, say, Washington's was 1878, Colorado's was 1876, but these constitutions, they didn't have very many pages, and they were about 3 feet long with a big red, white, and gold ribbon, red, white, and blue ribbon with a big gold seal. And so, and they're all handwritten, by the way. And the significance of these constitutions and why they were buried in the miscellaneous document box. By the way, this box had only been opened once in 1898 and once in 1901. So I'm the first guy in 2001 to open it in 100 years. And in the Montana Constitution I found, there were 2 pages missing, and it wasn't handwritten. And they're getting ready to shut down the National Archives because they had a door. They have a button they'll hit that'll lock all the doors and lock down the whole archives. And they'll search everybody, make sure you don't steal stuff. And I pointed out, no, they're here. I think I found them. He goes, where? I said, they're glued together. So 2 of the pages of the Montana Constitution were glued face to face together. And those constitutions, including Colorado's, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota's, Washington's, Idaho's, Oregon's, all these constitutions had 3 provisions in them that literally changed the face of the states and possibly the country. One is that no city, county, or state official can use their powers or authorities to enrich any corporation whatsoever. It doesn't say except municipal, county, or state corporations. It says any corporation whatsoever. The second one says corporate executives and their major controlling stockholders are to be held criminally liable for the actions of the corporation. Now, wouldn't this be a different world? And then the third one says no corporation can have a standing body of armed men. Now, if you look up with Dun & Bradstreet, which is where corporations generally register, you will find the governor of whatever state you happen to be in, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the state, for that matter, are all registered for-profit corporations with Dun & Bradstreet with what they call DUNS numbers, and which makes them for-profit corporations. So somewhere between 1898 and 1901, they buried all these original constitutions in the miscellaneous document box that nobody opens for 100 years, and they created fake constitutions, and they created states known as state of, because the original constitutions said all actions in the name of the state must be in the name of the state of, all upper and lower case letters. And if you look at the way your state writes its name now, it's state of. Maybe it's the, but it's all capital letters. And in law, all caps means either it's a partnership, corporation, or trust. So if your attorney general's in all caps, if your governor's in all caps, if your secretary of state's in all caps, that makes them what they are, registered for-profit corporations with DUNS numbers. And the problem with that is the only constitution that exists in the National Archives for these states since 1901 has been, or maybe 1898, has been the constitutions that I found in those miscellaneous document box, in that miscellaneous document box, listed under miscellaneous document, like Washington 55, 39 for Montana, 40s for Oregon. But if people knew that, the corporations that are running our states are nothing but criminal organizations that are criminally profiteering, committing racketeering, organized crime, and money laundering. And most of the elected officials, here's another kicker that people don't probably realize. Every one of the mayors of major cities have signed an international compact contract, which is a corporation. It's a corporate agreement between foreign entities. So how does the mayor of Denver, for example, I think his name was Hickenlooper at the time, how does he go and sign an international compact contract creating the state of Colorado as an international community under its Vatican, the city of Denver, where all probate cases must be heard through the city of Denver? And, where I come from, that's considered an international treaty when it involves foreign nations. And then when he became governor, he flew to Paris and signed the Paris Accord. Well, last I checked, that's a foreign treaty with a foreign nation. Now, maybe somebody can point out where a governor has the right to sign a foreign treaty and bring our country into a foreign, treaty with a foreign nation or number of nations when he's a governor. His jurisdiction ends at the state line and goes nowhere beyond the borders of this country. But yet, they all signed it. And how that isn't treason, sedition, and insurrection? Maybe somebody can explain that to me, because I'm just an ignorant country lawyer. I wouldn't know that. But, why aren't these people, instead of being made senator, why aren't they being prosecuted for what they're, the crimes they committed, which is insurrection, treason, and sedition? By flying to a foreign country and signing a treaty as a state governor for our country. Pretty sure that's not in any way legal, but here we are. But going back to the National Archives, I digress. Once we found those constitutions and we demanded certified copies of them, I also found documents like from the National Archives. I proved that the Blackfeet were, messed up. The blood Blackfeet, what happened was, I found in the congressional record, they had an agreement to send several hundred tons of food to keep these thousands of people alive during what was one of the coldest winters in history for a long time. And they had 2,000 head of cattle, and they're supposed to get 200 tons of food. And the head of the Indian Agency at the time, he was a personal friend of President Grant's. He found the guy who had the contract to haul the freight, and he told him, bought a bottle of whiskey and said, let's go for a walk, according to the freight guy. And he said, listen, you haul 10% to the Indians. Instead of 2,000 head, you give them 200 head. Instead of 200,000 tons, you give them 20,000 tons. Or I think it's less than that. It's been a long time. But basically, he made a deal with them, and he says, and I'll sell it, and we'll split it, and we'll both be rich men. Well, of course, he decided he wasn't going to split it. So he sold it and kept it. And a lot of Blackfeet starved to death that year. But the only reason it became congressional record is because the guy got pissed off that he was, he was robbed. The guy told him he was split, he'd give him half, and he didn't give him anything, so he went and testified before Congress. And that's how I got that record on what was done to the Blackfeet. So then I pulled up the records of the Indian agent in Browning and on the Blackfoot Reservation, and he said, I have over 2,000 Piegan Blackfeet here, and over 2,200 to 2,400 Blackfeet on their way through 7 feet of snow in 50 below weather. And he said, all I have is 400-pound sacks of flour and 400-pound sacks of corn and a few sickly cattle. And he goes, and all I have is these blankets I suspected maybe being contaminated with smallpox. And all I can do is give him the blankets and send him out to look for food, which he did. And then later on, the commander of the post sent the troops out after him for leaving the reservation, and many of them were killed. So that's another thing I happened to find at the same time. But all these constitutions that I dug up make it pretty clear that the people that are running these states are running what's called a de facto de jure government. So it means a not legal government that is the government of the day. So until people decide that, hey, we want our original constitutions back, and don't, you can't demand, oh, I want the Constitution for the state of Washington from 1878. You got to go in and say, I want miscellaneous document number 55 from the National Archives submitted by Kurt Riggin in 2001 with the state archives. That happens to be the original 1878 Walla Walla Constitution. If they can't provide it, you can then sue them under FOIA and get up to $100 a day per page. And under cases like Kalina versus Fletcher, if they find it egregious enough, you can get up to $300 a day per page. For every page they withhold it from you. And you can look up guys like Arthur West versus Washington. He's collected quite a few shekels from the state of Washington for not answering his FOIA requests, including cases like Lakewood, Washington State Department of Fish and Game, stuff like that. If we had more people like him, we'd have more honest governments, I guarantee you. But people like him and myself, we're endangered species, and that's the kind of way they like it. But that is part of my story on the hostile corporate takeover of America, which is the story I'm writing now. But we had we spent a lot of time, and we did find the constitutions that all the law professors in this state for 100 years declared the 1876 Constitution for the state of Colorado was lost. Lost my hiney. It was buried in a miscellaneous document file that nobody opened for 100 years. And nobody bothered looking for it, evidently, because they'd have found it, like I did. But, my life has been on, never the same since. If I leave my phone at home, I get a helicopter following me to the store, stuff like that. It sounds a little paranoid, but ask some of my relatives sometimes. They'll clue you in. So, I just figured I'd get that out there, and if people are interested, they can contact me at kurtriggin at comcast.net and ask me more questions. But, I was taught a lesson for getting involved in this. The police broke down my door with a bogus warrant signed by a municipal court judge named James White, who signed it as a district court judge, which he never was. And they beat me up pretty bad. They caused what some doctors consider to be 9 fatal injuries that not many other people have ever survived. One of them is I suffered a bifurcated liver by being kicked in the liver. A friend of mine said he found a similar case. My interventional radiologist said he couldn't find any other cases. Later on, he said he found a case from the 1980s where the owner of Benihana bifurcated his liver in a cigarette boat accident doing about 88 miles an hour. And he was in a coma for several months and spent like over a year in the hospital. But he survived. He's the only other survivor that he could find with a bifurcated liver. Plus, they also caused 7 fistulas in my chest by sticking a billy club up underneath my rib cage and picking me up off the ground multiple times. I'm mostly blind in one eye from what's called trauma-induced chronic open-angle glaucoma from being kicked in the head and stomped, and it knocked the pigment out of my eye, which caused glaucoma by clogging the pores. And partially deaf, and a lot of multiple injuries. But the one thing they did that saved my life is when they took me to the jail, the jailer said, I can't book him because he's covered in his own blood, so you better clean him up. So they put me in an ice cold shower from, I think, probably around 2 o'clock in the morning until the sun came up. And that's what saved my life, believe it or not. Didn't feel great, but it slowed down the bleeding enough so I didn't bleed to death internally. And so God's keeping me alive. And I think it's to tell this story and to wake people up that you don't have to be stuck with a corporation running your country or your state. We can get rid of these criminals that are running these corporations. And there's a law called the Logan Act, But if you mention it to a room full of politicians, you'll hear their butts puckering on their leather seats. Because the Logan Act makes it a felony for people like Nancy Pelosi's husband to have 9 multi-billion-dollar corporations in China, or Feinstein's husband having 4 multi-billion-dollar corporations in China. Of course, he's dead now, so I don't know if it's going to help him much. And not many people know that Mr. Biden had 9 multi-billion-dollar corporations in China that all went bankrupt. And if people knew some of the stuff that, I personally wouldn't want a guy in the White House who would take a shower with his 11 or 12-year-old daughter. But hey, I guess that's what we're stuck with, huh? So, good luck to us all, and hopefully the Lord will wake up enough people to say, hey, maybe we should get our real government back. Maybe we should find out who buried these constitutions and why they work so hard to kill me and the people that are involved in finding it and disappearing making sure we don't get it out there. But don't count on the one when it's an 18-page constitution, it's a fake. And when they create, like in the Colorado's 1876 fake constitution, they say, oh, the lowest court we have is a county court with $3,000 in jurisdiction and 30 days in jail. Well, I don't know if they said 30 days, but they say $3,000 jurisdiction, and they have jurisdiction over all these different cases. Well, the Constitution I found for the state of Colorado creates a justice court with a maximum jurisdiction of $300 and 30 days in jail and a statute of limitations of 1 year. And somewhere along the line, they changed the name to county court, expanded it to 60 days in jail, $600, but still a statute of limitations of 1 year. But in their fake constitution, they say in 1876, the lowest court in the state was the county court with a maximum jurisdiction of $3,000. Well, I don't know if y'all know how much $3,000 was in 1876, but that's no way that would be the lowest court in the state. So, you got to kind of look at, they weren't too smart when they faked the Constitution for 1876 and filed it with the state. Because first of all, it looks handwritten, but I don't know 18 pages of, I don't know anybody who can write 18 pages with every letter perfectly the exact same. Size, shape, and all that. That's pretty good. I don't know anybody can do that. I don't think there's anybody in history who's been able to pull that off. But hey, I could be wrong. But it's a printed constitution, and it surely wasn't 18 pages, and it surely didn't give the lowest court $3,000 worth of jurisdiction. So hopefully, other people will be interested in looking into this, because I don't want to be the lone guy sticking out, the sore thumb, as it were, which I have been for quite a long time. And I'd like people to wake up and say, hey, is this the truth? And I'd like to verify that. Well, go down to the National Archives, verify it. Make them show you the proof that it was ratified by Congress like I did. I proved that in that box was proof that every one of these constitutions were ratified by Congress, passed by the Senate, and signed into law by the President. Now, the corporate constitutions were done by executive order, signed by the President. They were never ratified by Congress. They were never passed by the Senate. So we've been working under a fake constitutional government for years, and until people decide that it's time to eliminate the DUNS numbers for the people that are running these states, and if we have to, eliminate Dun and Bradstreet, but I don't think that's necessary. I think they're going to, once we point out that you guys are licensing corporations to commit criminal acts under color of law, and if you don't take away their DUNS numbers and their corporate status, we're going after you and your ability to exist. I think it could get real quiet real quick, and they might just say, yeah, you know what? This states, we don't need them. These corporations, they may be illegal. We might have to take their DUNS numbers away. Well, what is your state official when he doesn't have a DUNS number? He's not a corporation. And I don't know if he's legally a governor, because he was never legally elected. Because you can't elect a corporation under the original Constitution. It says no city, county, or state official can enrich any corporation whatsoever. It doesn't say except municipal, county, or state corporations. It says any. So, wake up, people. This country has sustained a hostile corporate takeover over 100 years ago. And we've been under that corporate takeover for quite a while, and it's not too late to take it back. All we got to do is say, you know what? You guys are failing. You're doing a sorry-ass job, and we're going to elect all our officials. Really elect them using papers, using ballot boxes, not having anything to do with computers, because we don't need computers for our elections. Our elections used to be done by midnight at 12 p.m. Pacific time. All votes were counted by 12 p.m. Pacific time, voting day, and the winner was announced by midnight Pacific time. And that ain't happening anymore. So something wrong with that picture. And if we can't do that, well, we can't hold fair and legal elections. And we can't have computers running us over. So hopefully, you guys want some more information, keep listening. I'll be putting some stuff out. And keep your eyes open, because you're stepping before privately owned. Most people know Jefferson County was when Trump was in office, he announced while he was in Pueblo that Jefferson County, Colorado was the most corrupt county in the United States. And that's saying a lot. And that includes Cook County, Illinois, which has been traditionally the most corrupt county in the United States, among others. But the reason he said that is because he knows that Jefferson County, Colorado is privately owned. Until just last year, the courthouse, the jail, the sheriff's office, the prosecutor's office, the public defender's office, those buildings and all the land they sit on were privately owned by the Jefferson County Finance Corporation. So is the city of Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, and I understand also Golden, which used to be owned by Coors for almost 100 years. But when I brought it to the attention of the county auditor, he was shocked. He'd worked there for 15 years, and he didn't know that he was working in a privately owned courthouse. Well, the problem with that, like I told him, is the federal government put $10 million in federal funds in bulletproof glass and bulletproof panels behind every desk in that building. And I asked him to put, at least $1 million worth of bulletproof glass and panels in my house, and they wouldn't do it. So, why would they do it for the Jefferson County Finance Corporation? I don't know if they did. So one needs to ask, oh, by the way, Jefferson County Finance Corporation sold the courthouse, the jail, the sheriff's office, prosecutor's office, public defender's office, all the buildings and all the land they sit on, back to Jefferson County, and you won't guess how much for. What would your guess be? Goose egg, zero. And where I come from, that's not a sale, that's a gift. So please sell me over $100 million worth of property for the same price. I'll be happy to take that deal. So y'all have a good day, and God bless. Hopefully you can keep your head down and stay out of trouble. And if you do get in trouble, well, look me up. I may have some advice here eventually put on a website for y'all that I'm working on, and I might need some help. So if you got any volunteers, by all means, give me a holler. It's Kurt Riggin at Comcast.net, and I'll talk to y'all at another time, and eventually you'll be able to see my mug on my upcoming podcast. So have a good day, and look at your laws, not your statutes, because most people don't understand statutes are not laws. They're merely finding guides for law. Session laws are laws, and a lot of times they don't say the same thing. And I think we're done for the day. So have a good day, and we'll keep trying to plug out one of these every week, or maybe sooner. And you can look me up. There's some articles in Westward and places like that. So I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.